Crypto-Corner for Wednesday, November 11th, 2015. It's Veterans Day. We have several articles to get to, plus it's Q&A Wednesday. Every 2 weeks we have a Q&A. Plus I'm going to talk about that special that was on History Channel a couple of nights ago, Bigfoot Captured. Let's get started. The first story is about what apparently was some sort of a conference that was held in Missoula, Montana, a Sasquatch conference. I was completely unaware that something like this had been held. Apparently an individual by the name of Michael Cook apparently had a sighting, and he was one of the featured speakers at something called the Big Sky Bigfoot Conference. Actually, it was in Hot Springs, Montana. Looks interesting. Actually, he's from Kentucky. He's established the Kentucky Sasquatch team. Very interesting stuff. Next article is about the giant skeleton, the 3D skeleton that was printed for the History Channel special. Now, this article talks about sort of the process as to how they did this, but doesn't show any images of the actual 3D skeleton. But History Channel put up a video about the process, and but this is an interesting article. Now, let me show you what the skeleton looks like. Okay, and this is the skeleton, and you can see Dr. Meldrum standing beside it. 1,600 man-hours it took, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in my review of the Bigfoot Captured show. Now, this is the Sasquatch skeleton. This is a human skeleton. There's Dr. Meldrum, and there's the individual who helped Dr. Meldrum put this together. That's quite a massive undertaking. That's actually made of plastic. I thought it was made of paper. It's actually made out of plastic. I don't think paper would have been that durable. But there you go. Apparently there's a supposedly new video clip of a Sasquatch from the state of Utah, which was taken not very long ago. Doesn't look too convincing to me, but I'll let you be the judge for yourself. really into audio on this, and you can see it appears to be. No, why is it looking down at the ground? Wouldn't a sure-footed forest creature be able to navigate their way through a terrain? Looks to me like somebody in a suit trying to negotiate through this area. Now, personally, I think it's a guy in a suit. Well, we have all these freaking hoaxes, and they're so pervasive. I mean, this is just the latest example. It's unfortunate, but this is the kind of stuff we have to deal with in Bigfoot field. Of course, I wish it wasn't so pervasive, but yeah, we don't always get what we want, I guess. Oh well. Moving on. This next link is actually a YouTube video, a very short, a little over 10-minute video with Dr. Jeff Meldrum talking about the pressure ridge of the metatarsal break that he has found in footprints, or in footprint casts of Sasquatch. Of course, the most famous example is from the Patterson-Gimlin film, the footprint cast by Bob Titmus on October 29th, 1967, which was about 9 days after the film was taken. It's interesting, and it seems to be Jeff's pet theory, but I think it makes a lot of sense. The monthly Hopsquatch event is coming up, and they're going to have perhaps the most controversial guest that's ever appeared at Hopsquatch. That'll be this Sunday, 12:30 to 3, Northwest Quimby Lucky Lab. That's in Portland, Oregon. So if you're in the Portland area, you can go to this and ask some questions. But try to be respectful of the organizers. I mean, I realize Dr. Johnson has engendered quite a bit of what you might call, well, you can call it controversy, you can call it, just call it controversy. But, I mean, it should be interesting nonetheless. I mean, regardless of how you feel about Dr. Johnson's current theories, still, it should be fascinating either way. So this could get really interesting. We'll just put it that way. The Sasquatch Summit is coming up a week from this Friday through Sunday, and I told you about all the speakers last week. You can consult the website SasquatchSummit.com for further details. You got folks like Paul Graves, Tom Powell, Bob Gimlin, Todd and Diane Neese, Cliff Barrickman, Tom Cantrell, members of the Libic Project, Scott Taylor, the BFRO, Ron Moorhead, Scott Nelson. So it should be an all-star lineup. Should be Derek Randalls, of course, so it should be quite fascinating for those who are attending. Now we're going to get to our Q&A for this week. We got a couple of questions. First question is from Mike Caldwell. If the Patterson-Gimlin film never existed, how do you think it would affect Bigfoot research today? And that's a really fascinating question. If there had been no film, would we continue our efforts? And my answer is yes, I think we would, even if there were no compelling visual evidence that we could point to and say, that looks pretty good, that looks accurate, that could be authentic. So I think natural curiosity about especially the original 1958 footprints would engender quite a bit of a spirit of exploration, I think. So if there were no PG film, I think there would. I think things might be a little bit different, but I think there would still be people going out to look for these creatures and actually researching them. Our good friend Hugh Phillips asks, "Hey Henry, my question: with the new Bigfoot craze coming around, I guess, do you think that the influx of new enthusiasts slash researchers is good for the field, or does it only hinder progress with even more crazies added to the mix?" Well, you know, I think those who have, shall we say, the colorful opinions of Sasquatch, they certainly don't help. They don't help our progress. But by the same token, the new enthusiasts and researchers who are coming into this, as long as you point them in the right direction of who to learn things from and what to learn, I think you'll be okay. I always point people to Cliff Barrickman's two websites, cliffbarrickman.com and NorthAmericanBigfoot.com. Also, BigfootEncounters.com, the late Bobby Short's website. And Dr. Jeff Meldrum's book, Sasquatch Legend Meets Science. And also, I would also encourage to read John Bindernagel's two books, North America's Great Ape, the Sasquatch, and The Discovery of the Sasquatch. So if you really want a good scientific approach of modern books, those would be the three I would recommend. Of course, you can't go wrong with Grover Krantz's Big Footprints or Bigfoot Sasquatch Evidence, or of course John Green's books. Any of John Green's books, not just Sasquatch the Apes Among Us, but also his first three books. On the Track of the Sasquatch, Year of the Sasquatch, and the Sasquatch File. I mean, those books are highly, highly recommended. They're highly sought after also, and they're collectibles. Of course, you can get John's first two books collected in The Best of Sasquatch Bigfoot. So I would say that the influx of new enthusiasts, it's good as long as they attempt to keep a level head on them and not go too far afield as far as into the crazy territory. Alright, and here are my thoughts on the Bigfoot Captured special that was shown on Monday night on the History Channel. The documentary part of this docudrama or docu-fiction was good, with Dr. Jeff Meldrum at Idaho State University putting together, using several printers and 1,600 man-hours in labor to produce a large hypothetical Sasquatch skeleton 10 feet tall with a Paranthropus skull. And by the way, that was made of plastic, as I mentioned earlier. Dr. Jeff Meldrum and Dr. John Bindernagel are also taken to Kamloops, British Columbia, where they test a quadcopter drone with a camera attached and get a hit, which Dr. Meldrum has since clarified was a crew member, but the program portrayed it as a bipedal creature. The rest of this show was pure dreck, with a Sasquatch hunt taking place in an unknown location, and the team of actors has rocks thrown at them, finds unusual shelter structures, and finally builds a cage in the middle of the woods, and finally, quote-unquote, captures a Sasquatch. The costume on the actor did look pretty good, admittedly, and they had sound effects pertaining to the supposed Sasquatch, which sounded interesting, but according to some, did not sound very accurate. The creature is knocked out with tranquilizers and studied, hair samples are being taken, and plenty of video being taken, but then after a few days, the creature takes advantage of an open door, and you know what happens next. Plus, Kelly Shaw makes a cameo appearance, hearing what sounded suspiciously like a cow and calling it a scream, and showing some photo of a dark area which was very ambiguous. The final rating on this travesty, 5 for what could be a separate documentary all on its own, and -5 for the dreck. Blair Witch Project style dramatization crap. So there you go. And that will do it for this week's edition of HBM's Crypto-Corner. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will have another Q&A in 2 weeks. Those are always fun. I always enjoy getting questions from people. Oh, and by the way, if you're on my YouTube channel, you can ask me questions as well. serious questions pertaining to cryptids. It can be Sasquatch, it can be Loch Ness Monster, it can be Chupacabras, it can be Thunderbirds, it can be whatever cryptid creature there is. Mothman, even Mothman. Yeah, I'll talk about Mothman as well. But thanks very much, everybody, for tuning in. And until next week, y'all be good or be good.